Hello, second grade. So today we are going to start this complex pattern fish. So we talked about complex pattern, and what is a complex pattern? It's a simple pattern with added detail. It has more details than a regular pattern of just stripes or wavy lines or zigzags or polka dots. It has more detail, more things added. So this is what it might look like when you're finished. This is a fish that was an orange construction paper fish. We have a yellow one, and notice the teeth are different. So you can do different kinds of teeth. This orange fish has zigzag teeth. This yellow fish has fangs for teeth. Or you could do rounded teeth, almost like human teeth. And the way that we're going to start this is you're going to start with a piece of construction paper. Any color that I have out you can choose from. And once you pick your color, you're going to write your name right in the middle of the paper. This is important. And the day you have art, day A, day B, day C. If you don't write it right in the middle, we might chop your name off. After you have your name, you're going to flip it over and pick one side to draw the mouth of your fish. And it can just be a V, like a greater than less than sign, or it can be more curved. I like to do a V because that's easier to get teeth into than a curved mouth. So I'm going to draw a big V. You can draw a small V and have a small mouth, or you can draw a big V and have a big mouth. It's really up to you. Then on the opposite side of the paper, you're going to draw a diagonal line from the top corner back into the paper, bottom corner up and back into the paper. But they shouldn't be too close together, those lines. If you put them too close, then the tail might fall off. And then you're going to draw a curved line that curves up and all the way over to the top of the greater than less than sign. And it can almost go to the tippy top of your paper. You want to use as much of this paper as possible so you have a big fish. If you draw your little fish right here in the middle, it's going to be a tiny fish. So now I'm going to go back to the tail and draw a line that curves down and then back up to the greater than less than sign there. Now you're going to cut it out, but don't throw away your scraps. Your scraps are very important. So I'm going to cut my fish out very carefully, trying to stay right on those lines. And then I want you to look at these scraps and see what part of these scraps could you use for a fin. So I like this part here. That's a pretty big piece. And this piece is a pretty big piece. So these pieces here, I'm just going to set aside. I don't need them right now. And I could take these almost look like a fin as is, and I could just glue them on just like this and be done. But that doesn't have a whole lot of detail or interest. So I think maybe I'll draw a curved line here, and that'll be my top fin. And then this will be my bottom fin. So I'm going to make it a little bit shorter and curve it. And honestly, there's no right or wrong way to draw and put your fin on, your fins. It's up to you. It's your fish. You get to decide. So I think I'm going to put my fins on just like that. So I'm going to get some glue. Put a line of glue on the bottom of the top fin. Whoops. And glue this on. And then put a line of glue on the top of the bottom fin. And glue that on. Alright, so there's my fish. I made a bit of a glue mess right here, so I'm going to kind of wipe that up with some scrap. Okay. So now we are going to use temper cakes to paint on complex pattern. And we're going to do the first complex pattern together. And then after that, you get to do whatever complex pattern you want. So we're going to need a paint tray and a water basin, a paintbrush. I'm going to give you a tiny little brush so you can paint a nice, neat pattern on your fish. Now you can use whatever colors you want. Doesn't matter, any color you want. But I want you to look at my yellow. My yellow's pretty messy, so I'm going to show you how to clean off your yellow. You want to use yellow only if you have a dark paper and you want to clean water when you use your yellow. So to clean my yellow off and make it clean, I'm going to get water on my paintbrush, swirl it around, clean it off more. And I just go back and keep getting cleaner water, and every time my paintbrush starts to get messy, then I rinse it off, get clean water, rinse it off, clean water. And that's how you clean the yellow off. When you use temper cakes, you want to swirl around and get a lot of paint on your paintbrush. And we're going to start with the head of our fish. And we're going to start with a simple pattern, and then we're going to add details to make it a complex pattern. So let's start with stripes, just on the head. So I'm gonna get a lot of blue paint on my paintbrush. You can use whatever color you want. And I'm gonna paint stripes on the head of my fish. And I'm not gonna paint them close together because I wanna leave space between them so I can turn this into a complex pattern. Right now, painting it just like this is painting a simple pattern, and I want to paint a complex pattern. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're creating, a complex pattern, a pattern with details. So there is my simple pattern. Now I want to make it complex. So I'm going to rinse my paintbrush off. I'm going to get a different color. I think I'll get green this time. And I think we'll do dotted lines, or a broken line in between. So now by putting a broken line in between the stripes, I'm getting a complex pattern now because I'm adding more detail. So you're going to do one complex pattern on the head of your fish, then you're going to change and do a complex pattern on the middle of your fish, a different complex pattern. So maybe here I'm going to do polka dots. So I always start with a simple pattern, and then I switch and add something to make it a complex pattern. All right, and now I need a complex pattern on my tail. And I could have brought this pattern all the way to here and then did a different pattern on my tail here, which I think maybe that's what I'll do. I didn't really think about. Okay, so now I'm ready to do my complex pattern on my tail. And I'm trying to use a variety of colors when I do this, so you might want to think about that. And I'm going to do crisscross lines. I'm going to leave lots of space between them because I'm going to turn it into a complex pattern by adding stuff in the boxes. So I start with lines going one direction, and now I'm going to crisscross and do lines going the opposite direction. And then I need to come up with something inside the boxes. So I think maybe inside the boxes I'll do an X. Now you have your top fin and your bottom fin that are kind of plain. You can do a simple pattern on the top and bottom fin, or you can do something that's a little bit more complex. It's really whatever your preference is. I'm going to do a simple pattern just to speed things up so you don't have to sit here and watch me paint for hours and hours. Okay, so that'll be the first day or the first couple of days. But after you get everything painted, the very last thing I want you to do is add teeth and an eye to your fish. And you're going to do that with scrap paper. Now this temper cake really dries pretty quickly, so you can kind of set that aside. Try not to let anybody bump it or mess it up. And then you're going to draw on some scrap paper eyes and teeth for your fish. And your eye can be just an oval or a circle. It could be more of a mean eye where it's angled. I'm going to do a circle eye. So you're going to draw the eye with your pencil and get it just the way you want it. And then you're going to color it in. You're going to outline with permanent marker, and then you're going to color the black dot in, but I always like to leave a little highlighted spot in my eye. You don't have to do this. So I always leave just a little spot in the black part as a highlight that's not colored in. And then you're going to cut that out, leaving the black line around the outer edge. So you're going to cut around the outside of the black line. You're going to glue your eye on. And then you're going to flip your fish over, and hopefully by the time you get all this done, this paint will be pretty dry and you'll be able to flip it over no problem. You're going to flip your fish over, and you're going to cut 2 strips out for your mouth. So let's see. This is probably wide enough. You want it a little bit wider than it is. So I'm going to cut 1 strip for the top row of teeth and 1 strip for the bottom row. And I could just cut a zigzag. I'm going to cut some square teeth out. So I'm going to cut like a castle line for my teeth and make it even a little bit more complex. This wasn't my idea. I had a 2nd grader come up with this idea, and I just thought it looked really cool. So I'm going to steal their idea, because it was such a good idea, and cut out a castle line for their teeth. And that'll be 1 row of teeth. And so now I'm going to do the 2nd row. Now, you know what would have saved me time, second grade, if I had stacked these two strips of paper on top of each other and cut them both at the same time. My teeth would match, and I would only had to cut once. So this is my scrap. I'm going to recycle that. Put a line of glue in the bottom of the mouth, and I'm going to glue the teeth on. I want to make sure that they don't stick off the front of my fish. It's okay that they stick off the back because this is the back of my fish. Nobody will see that. And then I'm going to put another line of glue right here and glue that on. And it's sticking off just a smidgen there, so I need to drag this a little bit backwards. Or I could pull this forward and then I just need to trim that part off so that it doesn't hang off the front of my fish. So what I want when you flip your fish over, that you don't see any of that those teeth sticking out either side. And there is your finished complex pattern fish.